Namaste, hello. Thank you for joining me for your yin yoga practice. For this practice you may need some props. So if you could have a pillow or two, that would be really helpful. The other option you can use is perhaps to have some blocks. Or if you have a bolster, please use a bolster. You can also have a rolled up towel or use your pillow instead of the bolster. Collect what you need, and when you're ready, let's get started. So we're going to take a seated Baddha Konasana. So perhaps you want to sit up on a pillow or a bolster. You don't have to, but a little bit of elevation into the hips just helps to tilt the pelvis slightly forward, which gives a little bit more freedom to the spine. And then we're going to take the soles of the feet together. And just make sure that you have enough padding underneath your feet and underneath your buttocks, because we're going to be holding the poses for about 3 minutes each. And just a reminder before we enter into the yin, that when we come to a yin practice, what we really like to do is find the pose. And then when we begin to move into the pose, there's the first time that your body speaks to you, your first edge. And even if you know you have the range of movement to pull yourself right in, that's beyond your first edge. Like if I'm moving forward, my first edge is here, where I begin to feel the inner groin, my lower back, my outer hips, and then I know this is where I stay. And as the practice progresses, if my body invites me to naturally drop further, I drop further. So we always take the first edge. Once you've found your first edge, then we want to marinate in that shape. We want to hold it while we connect into our breath. And just be still. And I know when we come into these poses, there's always 1,000 distractions. And, you know, I have an itch on my cheek, and I have a problem on this side and something on that side. But we need to, hi Jenny, we need to just kind of sit into the shape and hold it and go for stillness. The more stillness we have, the more we able to slip into that parasympathetic nervous system and relax and open the body and get into the ligaments and the joints. When we move, we disturb the energy of the body. So try and go for stillness. The only time that you will move is if you encounter pain or discomfort in the pose. So I heard a teacher the other day describe it as, you want the feeling to be a sensation. You want a sensation. But if the feeling becomes sensational, you've gone too far. So, and then come out, pull out. So never sit where there's any pain. And then we will be using our essential breath today. And essential breathing is a way that we can breathe deeply in. We've got 3 diaphragms in the body. We've got the main diaphragm, but there's a throat and a pelvis, a higher and a lower diaphragm. And we want to use all 3 of them when we breathe. We also want to pay attention to the pause at the top, and we want to pay attention to the holding at the bottom of the breath. So if you just inhale deeply now, feel the breath through your nose into your throat, into the second diaphragm, the navel and the center of the body, and then into the pelvis, and then just hold the breath for a moment. There's a pause there. And then when you exhale out through those 3 diaphragms, and then at the top there's a pause before we take the next inhale. And we're focusing on the pause today because we want to look at that space in the breath, that moment in the breath. We want to learn to reside in that moment. There's a beautiful quote by Viktor Frankl that says, between stimuli and response there is a space. And in that space is your freedom to choose how you wish to respond. And in that freedom is your growth. So often we find that we might just jump in and respond too quickly. And if we had just taken that pause, that space, we perhaps could have chosen more freedom in our response. So we're going to acquaint ourselves really well with that space in our breath today. So we've been in this Baddha Konasana already for 4 minutes. We're going to stay just for another minute. So begin to now fold forward, drop your head and breathe into the body. Begin to focus on that 3 diaphragmatic breath, that full inhale, your voice diaphragm, your throat chakra. Inhale into the two centers, the solar plexus and the navel chakras, and then to the very root chakra, Muladhara, and then exhale out of all of them, noticing the pause at the top and the bottom. So we've got a couple of more breaths here. Just two more full breaths. And then very mindfully begin to draw yourself up to seated, but take your time and then straighten your legs and come to lie on your back. So we're going to come onto our back in between the shapes so that we can have the echo of the shape that we just held resonating through the body, the rebound, so we can begin to reset. So coming straight onto your back and just lying on your back for a moment. And then begin to feel the currents of energy moving through your body. Continue with your essential breath, your pranayama. Being aware of the inhale, the pause, the fullness, the exhale, the space, the emptiness. Now as we slip into the practice, begin to feel your body dropping into that still state. A state where there's the potential for healing. And now we want to roll onto our tummies and come into our Sphinx pose. So when you're ready, just rolling over, and I really like practicing Sphinx with the little pillow under my ribs. You don't have to, but that gives me a little bit of elevation in the front ribs and support for my practice. Then your elbows come in underneath the shoulders, your hands are spread wide, and you really feel like you are gluing from the tips of your fingers to your elbow to the earth, and there's a slight drawing them slightly back as the heart moves forward. Then you soften your buttocks, your feet can be a little bit wider than hip distance if you need. Toes might be curling in slightly. And we're stretching here into the stomach meridian, the front of the hips. Our practice is focused on releasing, opening and rejuvenating around the hips. When you're here, you can begin to connect again to that deep inhale. Hold the fullness without overly tightening into the abdominal muscles, and then exhale completely. Wait a moment before inhaling. Now this isn't for everyone, but if you know that you have more space and your back bends, you can straighten up through the arms and lift into your seal pose. We want to be in sensation, and we want to breathe into the hot spots of the body. So where you feel you opening, where you feel you stretching, draw that breath there. Our breath really is our life force. Make sure you're not squeezing into the buttocks muscles, you're not locking out the shoulders. There's a softness and an openness around your heart space. to more full, essential breaths here. Now before you even move, begin to think about moving. And then when you're ready, you're taking yourself into child's pose. I invite you to keep your knees together for this child's pose. So just press back, knees are kept together, and if you want, you can pull the pillow in underneath the forehead and bring your hands down by the side, palms facing up. And then breathe now into the dome of your spine. Breathe and expand your back body. And allow yourself to feel the echo of the pose moving through your body. And then when you're ready, inhale up to tabletop. And this is where the magic of the practice is going to begin to happen. This is usually where we have a couple of groans in the class as we hold, we're moving into dragon. Extend your left leg out behind you. And then step your left foot just to the outside of your left hand. Now there's always the option, and I like to take a pillow and put it underneath my knee, just to be sure that I'm comfortable. And we're going to start in our high flying dragon. So take your hands onto your knee and sit into the hips. Now there might be a little bit of resistance here to begin, so be mindful, sink in slowly, and give your body the opportunity to speak to you and then respond appropriately. Once you've found the shape, you can settle in, return back to breath. And see if you can allow yourself to sit in the space just for a moment between the inhale and the exhale. You're most welcome to stay here, but if you feel you'd like a slightly different flavor to the pose, take your hands on the inside of your left leg, maybe onto a block. If this isn't available, you can stay up high. Notice the slightly different nuance in this pose, the change in the hips. Those of you who want a little bit of fire, who feel you want something more fierce, just lift the back knee. But this is really optional. Smooth, steady breath. Honoring the pause, the space in the breath. Again, perhaps this is it. Maybe you still want a little more. And you're welcome to drop your elbows coming right into your low flying dragon. You might even want to wing the dragon and let your knee drop out to the side. Again, these are optional, and the back knee can be up or down. And here you really are being your best teacher, you're being your guide, listening intuitively and responding to your body. Sitting in the fire of sensation, but never so deep that you move into pain. Whenever I do this pose, I feel reminded of how much time I've spent sitting or walking and not getting deep into my hips. There's just 2 more breaths. That's lovely. Now pressing up through your hands, lifting back up onto the sole of the foot. If you wing the dragon, take your time to come back to child's pose. I like the knees together for the child's pose. And again, you can bring your forehead down onto your pillow if you wish, hands by the side. And then breathe into the back body, curving and doming the spine. And allow yourself to feel the sensations, the ripples of energy moving through the body, especially through the left side at the moment. And we'll bring it to balance soon. Just one more complete inhale. Notice the fullness. And then exhale. Notice the pause. Let's make our way back up to tabletop. And we're going to do the other side when you're ready. And I think you remember it well. Extend your opposite leg out, your right leg out, and then step it to the outside of your right hand. Please support your back knee. We don't want to have any pain. And then come right up, bringing your hands on to the front knee. And then from here, there's this welcoming of the hips to move forward. But you'll listen and you'll work that in your own body. And once you've found that first edge, that sweet spot, settle in and connect to breath. So if you repeat this practice at all from the recording at home, you're welcome to extend the holds. We're only holding each shape for about a minute, but these could be held for 2, 3, 4 minutes each if you had the time. Allow sensation to move through the body. Take your breath to the areas where the sensation is the highest. And then we have the opportunity here to take it into our inside dragon if you wish. Bring the hands on the inside of your front foot. You don't have to, and again, if you want more fire, you can lift that back knee, or a different fire. Keep bringing your awareness into the space at the top and the bottom of the breath. There's only 2 more breaths here. Perhaps you want to take it now, dropping the back knee if you lifted it, maybe keeping it up, winging your dragon by letting your right knee fall out to the side as you roll onto the baby toe side of the right foot, and perhaps you take your elbows down. But again, this is optional. So Donna Farhi has written the most beautiful book on this essential breathing. If you are interested in expanding your understanding of pranayama, and this book teaches us how we can actually heal our body through breath. But even now you may be noticing that despite the strong sensations in the pose, the breath is inviting in a real sense of calmness. And then let's move into our rebound, coming into child's pose. And you move as slowly as you need so that you can really be aware of the sensation in your body as you come to rebound. And then drop your body forward over your pelvis, over your hips, and just drop into child's pose and completely surrender here. When you're ready, slowly make your way back up to tabletop. We're going to go back onto our left side now, and we're taking our sleeping swan. So extend your left leg away and then draw it up and take your left knee behind your left wrist. Slide your right leg away. Perhaps you take your pillow and pop it in underneath, and if it's not available, I'll give you a variation in a moment. And then from here, you can drop forward and go just as forward, as deep as your body allows you. And if this is not accessible, if there's anything happening in your hips or your knees, you can do this pose on your back by taking the right ankle over, the left ankle over the right knee. This is option one. Option two is to hook your right leg in and enjoy your sleeping swan in a reclined position. Neither of the shapes are better than the other. It's just flipping the one around so that we change where the pressure points are in the body. A few more breaths here, just settling into this. As you feel ready, slowly coming all the way up. So not very long holds today. Drop onto your left sit bone and swing your right leg out around in front of you. So you'll be in your Shavasana shape. You'll have the left leg fold in, the left foot hugging into the right inner thigh. And perhaps you want to take your pillow if you need it and just pop it behind your front knee. This is an option. And then fold forward just to where your body feels comfortable. Connect again with your breath. And notice now how that pause begins to invite you to come into that still space. Just 3 more breaths. And then as you feel ready, slowly come on up to seated. And we're just going to take a Sukhasana, an easy seated pose for a moment with your right leg in front of the left. Bring your hands onto the knees, drop the shoulders, slightly tuck the chin. And again, just allow sensation, energy, prana to move through your body. When you feel ready, we'll make our way to the other side. So take tabletop to begin. Extending your right leg away, draw it in for your pigeon or your sleeping swan. Sliding your opposite leg back. Perhaps you need that pillow just underneath your right buttock to give you that little bit of support so that your pelvis, your hips keep facing forward. And then there's that gentle surrender down. Maybe it's onto elbows, maybe it's all the way down, maybe using a pillow or blocks. And then on the exhale, let that exhale be long and lengthened and complete. Allow yourself to melt. Just 2 more breaths here. And then mindfully, with an awareness to the sensations through your body, slowly bring yourself up and swing your left leg around in front of you to find your Janusasana. And again, perhaps you take your pillow and just pop it underneath your knee. And then when you're ready, you surrender forward. Perhaps it's just fingers on the earth and a straight spine. Maybe you're able to drop down a little more, supporting your head with your hands. Find what works for you. And allow yourself to be aware of each and every sensation in your body. Just 2 more breaths. And then mindfully, with awareness, bring yourself back up to your Sukhasana, your easy seated pose. This time the opposite leg is in front. And just place your hands on your knees, lengthen the spine, slightly tuck the chin, and allow energy to move freely through your body. I'd just like to remind you here of that quote by Viktor Frankl that says, between stimulus and response there is a space, a pause. And in that pause lies our freedom to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth. You're most welcome to stay in this seat now. But when you're ready, just drop into Shavasana, coming to lie on your back. I encourage you to be warm and to be comfortable. And I encourage you to stay in this space, to not allow the mind to rush off, to move to the next thing, but instead stay here, stay in the practice, stay with your breath. As you lie on your back now, see if you can connect into all the points of the body that's touching the earth underneath you. The back of your head, the back of your shoulders, back of your arms and hands, the buttocks, back of the legs and your heels. And invite a weightiness into those points of the body and allow them to drop down. And perhaps you can begin to feel how the earth rises up to meet you. And just for a moment you are completely relaxed, supported, suspended here between heaven and earth. Surrender your essential breath now and move into your regular flow of breath. That automatic breath where you don't have to engineer it at all. I'd like to share a poem with you called Fire by Judy Brown. What makes a fire burn is the space between the logs, a breathing space. Too much of a good thing Too many logs packed in too tight can douse the flames almost as surely as a pail of water would. So building fires requires attention to the spaces in between as much as to the wood. When we are able to build open spaces in the same way we have learned to pile on the logs, then we can come to see how it is fuel and the absence of fuel together that make fire possible. We only need to lay a log lightly from time to time. A fire grows simply because the space is there, with openings in which the flame that knows just how it wants to burn can find its way. If you need a little more space or a little more time, I encourage you to just stay on your mat in Shavasana. Otherwise, if you feel ready to begin to move, you're welcome to do that. Movements in the body, stretching. And slowly making your way up to seated, taking your time to get there. When you're ready, just taking your hands into Untitled Mudra and bowing your head in gratitude to your body, to your breath, and to the practice of yoga. Namaste. Thank you so much for practicing with me. I will try and get my timing a little bit finer, tuned, but beautiful to see you guys, and I hope to see you tomorrow morning. And remember your breathing practices 3 times a day. Bye.